while my mom was sick, I was living in her basement, and I was just really open to understanding life and death and spirituality. And so I went down all of the avenues and was really, really open. And things started happening. But again, I didn't have the tools or the teachers to.
Welcome to the Healing Cocoon. I'm Jacoby Gray, soul alignment and success coach and energy healer, which means I can intuit the subtle layers of your energy field to promote ultimate health and well-being. My goal for this podcast is to shed light on the healing journey itself and help you feel more supported as you embark on the process of unpacking your past to consciously create your present and start living the life of your dreams. Through the study of coaching, kinesiology, holographic kinetics, meditation, Reiki, the chakra system, and many other modalities, I've learned how to release the blocks that were holding me back. Now I'd love to help you do the same. By embarking on your own self-healing process, you'll see the world transforming around you in ways you never thought possible. You'll begin to experience more connection, clarity, love, fulfillment, synchronicity, and success than you've ever had before. So welcome to the Ascension. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back to the Healing Cocoon podcast. It's a beautiful autumn day here in Nashville as I record this introduction, or should I say fall, because I finally understand the true meaning of fall now that I'm living in Tennessee. Because coming from the east coast of Australia and spending a lot of time in LA, I've never truly had the experience of seeing the leaves turn and fall from the trees. And my gosh, the colors everywhere. It's breathtaking. There's a real magic in the wind at this time of year, and suddenly it all makes sense. And someone who is very in tune with the seasons and lives a beautiful life communing with nature is today's guest, Kindy Girdley, who I met when I went to the Goddess market recently and purchased some of her beautiful apothecary items. I think the thing that strikes me most about Kindy is not only her gentle and welcoming energy, but also the intention with which she moves through the world and creates her offerings. She is truly aligned with her heart energy and feminine gifts of intuition, and we have such a lovely chat to share with you today. Kindy herself is a Reiki practitioner and teacher, holistic chef, wellness guide, and has a herbal apothecary line. She's also currently studying to become a vital herbalist and also studying craniosacral biodynamics and sacred feminine alchemy breathwork. So she is constantly growing and expanding her toolkit. And she lives here in Nashville with her husband Ty and their two cats, Loretta and Simon, and offers in-person and distance Reiki sessions, multi-modality healing sessions, Reiki training in level 1 and level 2, retreats, workshops, and of course her herbal apothecary, which you will hear all about in this episode. She believes that we are our own healers and that it's helpful to seek out teachers, guides, and tools to help us along our own healing journey. And I couldn't agree more. So please get yourself a warm cup of tea and sit back and enjoy this episode. Welcome, Kindy Girdley, to the Healing Cocoon podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today, having just connected with you recently at the Goddess market. But I had heard about you before because I've had several different people saying to me, have you heard of Revel Nashville? You really need to connect. You really need to connect. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And then I didn't even realize when I was purchasing your apothecary pieces that I was speaking to you until after when I was looking at your Instagram, and suddenly I went, wait.
Connecting. It's all connecting.
Yes. So thank you so
Wow.
much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much, Jacoby, for having me. I'm just so happy to be here with you and have this conversation.
Yay. So I like to start back at the beginning. I like to start at the moment of awakening or at the trauma that ultimately led to your awakening. Like, where do you feel your healing journey started?
Yeah. Well, as far back as I can remember, I've been just a very highly sensitive person. And my family didn't really know how to maneuver around that. So I loved being alone. My dad had a big family, he was Catholic. Um, and we were together with people a lot, and it was so overwhelming for me. The noise, the energy, all of it. So I would have to have one of my parents take me back into a back bedroom or something, just so I could have some quiet and be able to ground again. I didn't know any of that. I didn't have any tools to understand what was happening. But what was really the catapult into my healing journey is my mom was diagnosed with cancer, colon cancer. Um, well, they knew a little bit before they told us, but we found out in 99. And so I was living in Nashville at the time. I was an audio engineer and decided to go home and help take care of her, along with my older sister and my younger sister that was still at home. That was incredibly heartbreaking and just gut wrenching to see your parent just sort of fade away and just be in so much agony. They treated it wrong. It was colon cancer. They hit it with radiation, which shrunk her rectum, and she had to have a colostomy bag. And so she just completely lost all connection with femininity, and it was really brutal and very long. And then 2 years later, my dad died suddenly of a brain tumor. We were told to fly out quickly and get there, and we got to see him, but he was already a little bit out of it. Um, and when they went in to do the operation on the right lobe, they found a tumor on his brainstem, which is, of course, inoperable. And so we had to make the decision to take him off of life support. And I don't even remember having the conversation with my sisters. It was like an absolute knowing of my dad was like salt of the earth. He led 30 students out west every year on an earth science trip, and was a teacher, and just we were absolutely not going to have him sitting in a hospital or laying down in a hospital dying. So two extremes. While my mom was sick, I was living in her basement, and I was just really open to understanding life and death and spirituality. And so I went down all of the avenues and was really, really open. And things started happening, but again, I didn't have the tools or the teachers to help me understand what was happening. I would be sleeping, and all of a sudden it was like paper being shifted right in my ear. And that actually freaked me out so much, I just yelled stop. And I still have a little bit of like this energetic block to
Like a
hearing.
shield.
Yeah, shield, yeah. And another time I was woken up from a dead sleep. I had a VCR back in the day, and I had duct tape over because it was bright and I have to have pure darkness when I sleep. And so I covered that with duct tape, and all of a sudden it was like a flashlight strobing at me and waking me up.
And that
Yeah.
was impossible because it had tape over it.
Yeah. So yeah, a couple of things really happened, and I was having really vivid dreams, and it was really cool. But again, I just didn't. And then after they died, I was just like, I'm atheist. I don't believe in anything. Fuck everything. Just like angry.
Yeah.
I was 22 and 24 when my parents passed, and then was just searching, and would dabble with things here and there, and then I guess time is really difficult for me to remember. I guess about 13 years, I started seeing a spiritual teacher. And that really helped just connect me more, because I was very sick. I was very unhappy. I was angry. And I was just like, this is not right. This is not me. I'm feeling so off. I've got to be able to figure out how to align. And I didn't even have the words for it at that time. So yeah, she helped me kind of go on that path. And then I've just continued down the line. I love nourishing people. And I did that for a long time. I opened a catering company that specialized in dietary restrictions, people who were ill, and then otherwise, but it was organically based and locally sourced. And I was the only catering company, to my knowledge, at that time doing it. And then I also took on private chef clients and did that for a long time until my body was screaming at me. And again, I was just so angry and didn't understand why. And it was just because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So I closed my catering company. I don't know, maybe a year, maybe not quite a year before the pandemic hit. And I was just working with one private chef client and looking into Reiki and vitalist herbalism. And so I was doing all these courses and just learning more tools, adding tools to my collection, and just trying to come into alignment.
And that brought you to the place where you've created your whole range of products yourself.
Yes. And I wasn't finding the products I was seeking in the market. So I wanted to create facial products to start with. It was body and facial scrubs, and I now have 2 facial oils. One of them my grandmother used, and when we lived next door to her, we would go over and have slumber parties, and we would always use her face oil and just lather it up, and she looked amazing even at the age of 98. And so I just recently found that recipe that I had been looking for years and recreated it. So I've added that. I'm really happy to have that. And then I started making tea blends and yoni steaming herbs and herbal soaking salts and salves and just all kinds of goodies.
Yeah. And alongside that, you are actually a Reiki practitioner, and you are a Reiki master, I'm assuming, because you lead other people through their own Reiki training as well.
Yeah, that's right. That is one of my favorite things. I'm really, really loving teaching and just sharing this beautiful modality and the teachings with others, and whether that's for their own self-practice or to take that into the world as well. It's been hugely opening for me.
Yeah. So tracking back to the time in the basement when these, I guess, these otherworldly encounters started happening, was that the first time you consciously noticed things like that? Obviously, you are a highly sensitive child.
Yes.
But that was the first time, I guess, you were opening up to let it in.
Yeah, like audible or visual, definitely. That was the first time I remember. I would have reoccurring dreams, and I would have like psychic bits as a kid. I would just be like, oh, we're gonna travel down 135 where I grew up. It was a road, and see on the next road over a friend of ours, or it was just 4 things in a row, and it'd be like, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen.
A knowing.
Yes.
Clairsentience in a way.
Yes.
Just this knowing.
Yes. And that's exactly my most profound energetic gift. Is it that deep knowing.
When you put the shield, or it kind of like said stop, how long before, was it a gradual opening up again, or was there a point when you sat down and said, okay, I'll let you back in?
Well, I mean, I'm still trying to fully open it. There is a lot of fear around it, and a lot of fear of being seen and heard, and for persecution from this life and past. It's still a journey.
Have you done any clearings around that, past life persecutions, and revisited any times of, because you're obviously a healer through many, many lifetimes?
Yes, I have done some. I need to do more.
Don't we all?
Yes.
So that we can stand in our power in this lifetime.
Yes, but I am feeling that shift of, no, it is time now. It is time to be seen. It is time to be heard. It is time to use your voice and share what you know. And I just absolutely adore holding space for others. and hopefully helping them feel that sense of empowerment as well.
Yeah. So how do those gifts, do you think, inform now your Reiki or your energy sessions? Have you found that your energy sessions, I mean, I will say I do Reiki because people have some kind of understanding of that, but actually energetically I mean, really, I would call it like quantum healing. But what's your
Yeah.
experience of that?
So it completely differs all the
Mm-hmm.
time. So everybody has a, unique experience. But I mean, it's Reiki and,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
have intuitive hits. And, if it comes in pretty strongly or like 3 times, I'll mention it. I also incorporate, if it's coming through, any like verbal, uh, what am I trying to say? Um, Affirmations.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, so a lot of times we'll have this stuck energy and it just helps to audibly get it out.
Mm.
Um, so that seems to be helpful for a lot of people. And then some people, it's just like, I need to lay here and I need to rest and I just need to receive. And so sometimes it's not the time to actually participate in that healing in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And
Yeah.
so this sensitivity that you had as a child that caused you to need to go and reset on your own and just have quiet moments, is that something you've learned to manage with your energy now, or do you still reset in solitude?
Oh, I still reset in solitude. Yeah, I've gotten a lot better at it, but I love being alone.
Yeah.
And it's necessary for me.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, just to completely reground and I love doing that in nature. It's my home. And
Yeah.
I'm just so connected to Mother Earth, and I always just feel so grounded and aligned when I
Yeah.
allow myself that time. And I can absolutely notice a difference when I don't take that time.
Mm. Yeah, Mother Nature is so
Mm,
important. So, is
so,
that
so important.
part of a daily routine? Is that just actually how you live your life, or is it something you schedule like once a week? I go on a big hike. Like, how does Mother Nature appear in your
Well,
life?
I feel very, very blessed and lucky that I live across the street from Shelby Bottoms entrance.
Oh,
So I can literally walk
very, very
across the
lucky.
street. Yeah. And, we have 3/4 of an acre here in East Nashville,
Hmm.
and a little creek. And so I can just step outside and we live on a cul-de-sac, so I can have
Yeah.
quite a bit of solitude. And then the deer and the turkey are always around, and we have hawk and owl, and just so many birds. I just love it. And the squirrels. But yeah, I usually take a daily walk in the morning,
Mm.
and it's a back entrance. So I usually don't see anyone, which is amazing. And then I know some little off trails that nobody knows about. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So you can trek them alone.
yes.
Yeah. And so that time in your life when you were catering and your body was screaming at you and you
Hmm.
realized that you just weren't living your purpose. When you tell the story, you say, "So I quit my catering job." But I'm like, what was that actual process like of realizing you weren't living your purpose? And then how quickly did you know what your purpose was?
Mm,
And how was that transition for you? Because I'm sure there are a lot of listeners who are in that position.
yeah. It was a lengthy process. It was a
Hmm.
painful one. Um, but it was also quite clear. Like eventually it was just like, you have to stop. But I just kept getting sick. And that's usually a really big indicator for me if something is off. Um, I used to get sick all the time in different periods of my life. And so I've started noticing that pattern.
Mm.
If I'm not doing what I absolutely love, it literally starts to kill me.
Yeah,
So
so there's actually no choice for you.
really, there
It's,
isn't. That's what it
yeah.
feels like to me.
I'm interrupting this awesome chat to quickly tell you all about the free meditation I've created for peace, presence, and empowerment. It kind of sounds like a big promise, but when you break it down, a sense of inner peace comes from being present because you're not feeling anxious about the past or worried about the future. You're simply with this moment here, right now. And empowerment is also a byproduct of presence because what's the one similarity you notice about the people in your life who have the confidence to ask for what they need and want, not in a pushy or narcissistic way, but in a way that feels genuine, clear, and unattached to the outcome of their ask, which ultimately then makes you more receptive to fulfilling their needs and wants. That's true empowerment. And that one similarity that all those people have in common is presence. So, this meditation is designed to give you a repeatable experience of presence so that you can begin integrating those feelings of peace and empowerment into your everyday life. I'd love for you to try it out, ideally 2 to 3 times a week for a month. I know it's a commitment, but you've got this. And let me know what starts shifting for you once you do. So pop onto our website, thehealingcocoon.co, that's C-O, not .com, and download your free audio track right now.
And so it started with, okay, I'm catering and private chefing. I have people working for me in both. I do not love managing people at all. I know this about myself. And so I just started to take on smaller jobs that I could just do myself and not have to rely on anyone. And then slowly the universe just sort of trickled out the chefs that were working for me for private chef clients. And so it was just me doing small catering and me doing private chef services. And so I was just sort of having a conversation with myself, and I'm like, what needs to fall away? And it was obviously catering. And then I could just get really choosy about what I want to take on. And I did that for a good year, maybe more. And then I was just like, okay, I think I'm done. I don't want to cater anymore. I actually recently, at the beginning of the year, I co-facilitated an all-day workshop, and I also did the food. And so I had some PTSD around it. Just that, oh my God, that nervous system shock of stop, go, rush, and then wait, and then, and then clean up. And then it was just that ongoing cycle. And I was just like, okay, it is very clear. I am done with catering, period. And I'll have people, ask for it, and private chef services. And, I love that they still want me. But it's just so clear. It's a no. Yeah. So just really listening to, your highest self, your body, and getting very clear about, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for others? Because I was doing it for others. And I was in a place of lack. So it was about, but I can make this amount of money, So really, standing in your worth, knowing what you want, and listening to your body.
Yeah. Was there a sense of validation in the fact that these people kept coming back to you and wanting your services as opposed to standing on your own, either creating your own range or stepping out as an energy healer and all the other things you wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, it was flattering, but I am a people pleaser recovering.
Yay, me too.
Yeah. So it was really difficult for me to create these boundaries and say no, because I want to take care of people, but not at the loss of myself, not at the detriment of my health and my needs. So,
yeah. So what does your nervous system feel like these days compared to when you were on the go for catering and wild. Any of the other things you were doing?
Yeah, I am usually so grounded. And that feels amazing because I was not grounding at all. I wasn't walking. I was drinking yerba mate a lot. And so I can't do caffeine.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how much that was affecting me. And my nervous system now is like a totally different nervous system. It's amazing. And to be able to have self Reiki to practice on my own and go outside in nature and meditate and just really take care of me. It's so important.
Absolutely. And that's something really beautiful. I think for anybody who is interested in Reiki and even taking Reiki 1 with you, that they get the tools and are encouraged to practice on themselves.
Absolutely. Yes.
And how long did it take you, do you think, to feel the effects personally when you were practicing on yourself?
Well, gosh, the attunements were very intense for me. Whenever I receive energy work, I typically have a migraine for 3 days to integrate. Like my
Wow.
soul works in a very speedy way, and my body is like, oh, no, I don't think so. So I was doing self Reiki every day for 30 days, and it was incredible. So I was noticing just synchronicities, just feeling like I was definitely in touch with my guides, whereas before I was like, are you there? I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, it was a profound shift in my life to have the practice of Reiki and to do that daily.
And so when was that in your journey? Was that in the basement days, or was that when you were seeking after your parents passed? Or at what point did you actually do Reiki?
Right. That was 3 years ago. That was like
Oh, so
during the
this is okay.
pandemic.
So was this when you
This
stepped
is when
away
I
from
quit.
catering?
Yeah.
And then I was going to ask, was that when you developed your products immediately after that, or did you step into the
I
Reiki? Or
started I started developing my products while I was still catering, I think. A friend of mine asked if I wanted to do a little pop-up, and I was just like, yeah, but can I do something else? I've been wanting to do this other thing, not food. And so I of course did food, and then I also did products. And that was really kind of the launch of it. Was that was like what I needed, that invitation. And then okay, I've got this other thing that I can do. And yeah, so that was like definitely a catalyst too. And like, okay, I do have this other thing that I can be doing along with private chefing.
amazing. Okay, so 3 years
And
ago you
yeah,
started the Reiki.
yeah. So during the
Um,
pandemic, I was trained in
yeah.
Reiki 1 and 2. The woman I was seeing for Reiki just texted and was like, "Hey, would you like to learn it?" And I was like, yeah, yes, I do. And so I did that. And then it became so clear that it wasn't just for me, that I was supposed to share it.
And what about your experience after doing Reiki 2? I mean, I found that one kind of my whole world flipped on its head after I
Yeah,
was attuned to Reiki 2. Did you have a really big experience as well with it?
I did. Yes, I learned Reiki 1 and 2 together.
Oh, wow.
So
So
it
it
was
just,
a lot.
whoa,
Yeah.
okay.
And I actually teach Reiki 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, okay.
Um, but yes, after, whew, yeah, it was, it was so profound in an enlightening way, but also like, oh my God, these relationships are falling apart, and um, I am creating boundaries, and people don't like that. And it was just like I was coming into my own power, and the shifts and the tidal waves that was creating for the people around me was really, it was quite intense. Yes.
Yeah, and did you have, I mean, 2020 was a shake-up for everybody,
Hmm.
but you were having an awakening on a whole other level.
Yeah.
How did you then, were you connected to the fears of the collective consciousness during that time, or was your stepping into your own spiritual path more deeply, did that allow you to view it from a different place?
I would say both. Yeah, if I'm being honest. And I thrived in the pandemic. I loved the downtime. I loved how it made everyone stop and just reassess, slow down, like animals had free roam. It was just like it was so beautiful in some ways. I'm not saying that it was, you know, it's awful that people died, and it's of course, but there was some beauty in it as well.
Mm. Yeah, and it's so important to see both sides of the coin,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And so, what's your favorite product? Do you have one of your range
Mm.
that you've created?
Yeah, so my favorite product and the best sellers are my two facial oils.
Hmm.
And then,
Is one of
uh,
them your grandma's recipe, or is that a third one that you're
yeah,
adding?
that was a new one that I launched at the market that I met you at.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, but it's already like super popular. But
Uh-huh.
yes, my most favorite and daily use is the sea buckthorn facial oil.
Mm.
And then the tea would be the rooted cacao tea, which is a great transition tea if you're trying to get off coffee.
Hmm.
It's toasted dandelion, toasted burdock, chicory, and just a little bit of cacao to balance that out. And it's just robust and bitter and beautiful.
Yeah, it sounds delicious. I love cacao. I bought
Yeah.
your chai tea, which is amazing.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad you like that. That was a popular too.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because I was reading on your website and you actually sort of list some of the ailments that you had, whether it was candida or irritable bowel or just
Mhm.
digestive issues in general.
Yeah.
And do you think that was directly related to the anger and the grief and the loss of your parents, or was that something you were experiencing beforehand leading up to that point?
Yeah, yes. And I recently discovered that I was not breastfed. And
Whoa, okay. Oh,
yeah,
interesting. Interesting
yes.
tangent. Please tell me all about this.
So I don't know why I just always thought that I was, but my chiropractor, um, so whenever I get adjusted, I have an audible or physical jerk or sound.
Hmm.
And he was just like, "Do you know your birth story?" And I was like, "I don't. Both my parents are gone, and I really don't. I mean, I know it was a vaginal birth." And he was just like, "You may want to look into that. That it seems like you had a traumatic birth." And I was like, that's interesting. And then I reached out to my sisters and I was like, does anybody, they seem to know more information than I do
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
my parents and stuff. And so
Are you the youngest?
I'm the middle.
You're the middle. Out
Yeah.
of how many
Three
sisters?
girls.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and they were like, well, I don't know your birth story, but I know you weren't breastfed. And I was like, what? I just like started sobbing. It hit me in such a way. And
Mm.
I always remember, even as a kid, like I always had this bloated belly. And apparently I refused to latch. This was a different time. I was born in 77. And so it wasn't, bottle was fine for,
Yeah. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of people. But it's really made me think like when this started because my GI has been off for as long as I can remember. But okay. And then that takes me to when my mom was sick, we would see an Amish healer,
Hmm.
Solomon Wiki. And he had told me that I had organs that were lower than they should be and that this may change at some point. But I had had chronic candida for as long as I can remember. I tried all the elimination diets,
Hmm.
no sugar, including fruit, um, no bread, and I've been gluten free forever. And then over the pandemic, I started making sourdough. um, but there is something to that too, like completely keeping yourself, depriving yourself of foods can be harmful too. And I think we are in such a time of eliminate this, eliminate that. And it's just like, sometimes if you want to have a piece of sourdough bread, have a piece of sourdough bread. And it may bloat you for a minute, but it'll be okay. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
let's get out
Live
of the
your life.
mindset that,
Yeah.
because I would think before I put anything in my mouth, this is going to destroy my stomach. I would literally say that. And of course it would.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's all about the intention at some level, isn't it?
Yes.
Have you found though with your I guess, spiritual kind of awakening, or I don't want to, because it sounds like you've been awake for a while. I mean, that word awake,
I
I don't,
know.
I don't know. How else can we
I've
talk
been
about it?
unwinding.
Unwinding. I like that. So at the point where you took Reiki, and there's such a huge energetic cleanup that happens, and then as you, from that point on, it doesn't just stop because you've been attuned, you now start working with other people, and there's so many energetic lessons and clearings and boundaries you need to create and to get to this point. But the good side of all of that hard work is that you energetically are a lot cleaner, clearer, and freer on a daily basis. Have you found that your, I guess, your gut, the second brain, is in a better space?
It is. I am off gluten for the most part again, but like if I want to have a burger, I'll have a burger with a bun, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So it's just that, you know, 80/20 or whatever, you know, it's
Mm.
just being mindful and then just kind of letting my body know, actually, I'm going to have this. It's going to be okay. And it's going to be delicious and just enjoy it. Like allow yourself to have joy.
Yeah,
So
it's
I've,
like that the water, I can't remember the scientists, but you know how they show you water particles, and when you send love into the particles they turn into
yes,
beautiful snowflakes,
yes,
and when you send hateful thoughts into them they like become these
jagged.
ugly, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing I think with food. Like we can't be, crazy and just eat chocolate 100% of the
right.
time and send positive thoughts to it. But I
Yeah,
think that you're so right with the 80/20 rule. It's moderation. And for that 20%, when you're eating the sourdough, send love and allow yourself to
yes,
sit in a space of non-judgment around
yes,
that, like self-acceptance.
absolutely. Yes. And you can Reiki your food as well.
Yes, that's something I don't do enough.
I know.
Yeah, and that sense of self-love, I know that that's a theme that runs throughout your website. It's something you really want to bring people home to themselves.
Hmm.
How can people, like, we'll link we'll link about your website, your Instagram, everything in your show notes, but do you have any ways that people can find you, and how will they experience you when they reach out to you?
Yeah. The best way to reach out is by email or Instagram, and follow along. And I usually let everybody know. I do have a newsletter. I'm not very regular about it. Um, yeah. But I will let you know about any upcoming workshops or trainings. You can find everything on my website. Um, and during the fall, I like to take my Reiki practice outside if you're into that, and incorporating some extra grounding in a Reiki session. Um, yeah, and so I offer Reiki distance and in person, and then I have multimodality sessions, which would include cord pulling and sound healing and just lots of other modalities depending on what it is you're needing. So
Hmm.
I've kind of separated the two because it was all kind of jumbled together, and now it's just like, here's Reiki and here's this other thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And you also have a beautiful greenhouse that I've seen mentioned
Yes.
as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that space?
Yes. My husband and I built that along with a friend, and then we actually had to have somebody come and take care of that for us because we didn't set a foundation for it. It's like one of those slide-in kits. But yeah, it's been such a beautiful space to work out of. In the winter, it's so bright, and I have a heater and a biomat that I take out there, so it's
Biomat.
warm.
Okay,
Biomat is
everybody.
always on the table.
Can you just
Yes.
explain for our listeners what a
Yeah.
biomat is and does?
Yes, a biomat is a one like the best heating pad, and it's filled with amethyst crystals and it's infrared. So you get all of these amazing perks of warmth in and of itself is just so nourishing and nurturing. I always ask my clients to just climb into the womb.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Yes. So yeah, infrared is great for inflammation. oh gosh, I mean, all kinds of stuff. Blood
So
pressure,
many
blood
things.
pressure. Yeah, so many
Mm-hmm.
things I've forgotten.
No, but it's just amazing because it's the combination of the amethyst crystal and the heat,
Yes,
and they're
yes,
really big, so it gets your whole body, and then you
yeah.
lie on that. That's an experience in itself, but then they get to have Reiki with
On
you as
top of it,
well.
yes, yes.
So everybody sign up.
Thank you. Oh, I love holding space. So yes, I am here if needed.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I've absolutely loved it.
Thank you so much, Jacoby. Me too.
I hope this episode has inspired you to keep going on what can sometimes be a tough road to inner peace and true happiness. If you want to dive deeper into what we talked about today, go to thehealingcocoon.co for show notes and all things personal growth. And don't forget, if you're loving The Healing Cocoon, then put that love into action and subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. And until next time, my friends, let's rise and shine together.